Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rao, for the introduction. So, first of all, I would like to welcome all the participants at this webinar. And this is a very new kind of an initiative which CIA and Department of Science and Technology have taken. And I would like to just mention that, in India there has been a concern about industry's low investment in research and development and technology deployments as compared to many other countries. For example, in countries like Israel and Korea, the investment from the government and the industry in R&D is about 4%. In countries like Japan and Scandinavia, it is 3%. In countries like USA, France, Germany, it's about 2%. And in country, talking of Asia, we have another Asian giant, China, where the investment in R&D from the government and the industry is about 1.5%. So in case of India, it is less than 1%. And the surprising thing is that the government spends 2 to 3 times more than the industry in industrial for this R&D kind of work. So this means that there's a lot of gap as far as our technology capabilities are concerned and developing our technological strengths. So in this endeavor, in the 12th five-year plan, Government of India has made this target to bring this level of investment into R&D from 1% to 2%. So that means that government will contribute 1% of towards the investment of the total GDP of the country, and whereas the industry also is expected to contribute 1% of the GDP in research and development. So with this view, this initiative between CII and Department of Science and Technology has been launched, and this is called Global Innovation and Technology Alliance. This was existing as in a project mode for the last 4 or 5 years, where there were some industrial R&D programs ongoing between India and countries like Canada, Israel, and Taiwan, and we had recently had some arrangement with ASEAN bloc also. So with the success of this project activities, there was a desire felt by both the sides, from the industry side as well as from the government side, that this mechanism should be institutionalized. So in view of this Global Innovation and Technology Alliance was established as a public-private partnership company under Section 25 of Indian Companies Act in November 2011. So I'll just now start the presentation. So just a brief on what is GITA. As I mentioned that this was incorporated in November 2011, and this was as a result of recommendation of Prime Minister's Council on Trade and Industry. This is a unique institution for providing demand-driven technology solutions through global alliances on a competitive process. That means that if there are technologies available from different countries, so different countries have their own technological strengths in relative areas. So what the industry can do is they can identify that how their needs from particular countries could be met, and then they can use this mechanism by for sourcing technologies and subsequently for adopting technologies and utilizing the funding mechanism, which I'll be coming to in the presentation later. So this is a one-stop shop for forging frontline global technological alliances for Indian companies for achieving leadership in world and domestic markets. It is an innovative mechanism between Government of India and the Indian industry for attracting Indian industry's investment in technology. As I mentioned, the target of 12th five-year plan is to increase the investment level to 2% of the GDP. And this can be done through mapping technology gaps, evaluating technology offers across the globe, connecting among technology developers, providers, commercializers, and funding last phase of technology development that connects the market and deployment of technology solutions. This is very important because we are not talking of some fundamental research or basic research. We are talking of the research where industry has already developed some technologies, and there are and then that has to be brought to the market. So there are opportunities for collaboration for Indian industry with counterpart in other countries to do this last mile research and bring the technologies to the market. Otherwise, because in the absence of that, we will not be able to have the real commercial, commercialization of the technologies until unless there is some kind of a mechanism where we forge collaboration with overseas companies and other academic institutions, and then utilize this mechanism of funding so that the translation of the technology to the market is faster. Next. So just a brief on our board of directors. We have Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, and Mr. Deep Kapuria, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Mr. Navroz Godrej. They are currently from the industry side. And we have Mr. Mittal from Technology Development Board, Ms. Anuradha Mitra, and Dr. Arvind Mitra. We are in the process of getting more nominations from industry as well as from the government. From the government side, we'll be getting nominations from Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. We are also in touch with the Department of Economic Affairs and Ministry of External Affairs, and they will be also nominating their officials on the board. The key mandates of GITA are to deployment of appropriate, cost-effective, and end-to-end technology solutions to the prioritized areas. So these prioritized areas are basically defined by the industry and also based on our national missions. It could be related to healthcare, low-cost healthcare, or it could be on water management, or it could be increasing the manufacturing capabilities of MSMEs. So it's across the sectors, and the type of the needs of the industry can vary. So similarly, then building technology depth in priority sectors, which can again be identified through the needs of the industry and through our national missions, and which are particularly relevant for MSMEs. Building capacity in industry for manufacturing products, those need high value additions. So these are basically for where we are talking of some technologies which are required for the advancement of a particular sector. For example, in case of machinery, it could be the 5-axis CNC machines, where countries like Germany and Japan are strong. So Indian companies can partner with the counterparts in those sectors and enhance the technology depth and take on that particular sector for technology diffusion and adaptation. Then we have this developing affordable and innovative products for new market segments like aged and differently abled. This is a priority for our country because of the vast population and people who are lots of people are poor, and to take care of their needs, we need these kind of technologies which are lower cost and which can provide solutions to our large population. Basically, the idea of establishing GITA is to promote S&T linkages and cooperation between India and different countries. We have over 70 agreements. India has over 70 agreements with different countries in the area of science and technology. So GITA has been established, and it has the mandate of GITA is to facilitate inter-institutional linkages, develop partnerships for launching bilateral R&D programs with other countries. We have already ongoing programs with Canada, Israel, Taiwan, and ASEAN countries. And as I'll mention in my slides later, we'll be initiating programs with other countries also. Supports collaborative R&D projects and deployable technology solutions, enables exchange, sharing of knowledge, technology experiences, best practices in science and technology areas of mutual interest between India and partnering country. Then it acts as a platform for sharing experiences in regulatory frameworks, policy initiatives that influence R&D. Because that's another area where we would like to build our companies and our industries' capabilities. For example, in case of capacity building, we would like to facilitate industrial innovation framework and organize training programs in the areas of IPR, design, and technologies. And we will be providing services in the case for information exchange, matchmaking, IP protection. Similarly, other areas where we could contribute is strengthening the ecosystem and deployment of technologies based on the needs of the industry or particular states. So what are the approaches which we can follow? So the approaches are basically to map technology needs in identified sectors. We are already in the process of ascertaining the needs of the industry in different sectors. Then we will do consultations with stakeholders and state governments, because the needs of different stakeholders and the states can vary, and so based on their needs we will then initiate programs. Develop sectoral technology roadmaps and implementation strategy. This will be done in consultation with the stakeholders. Launch three-pronged programs focusing on Indigenous R&D, Global R&D, and technology adoption. So the idea is here, if we are talking of Indigenous R&D, what mechanism we have proposed is that, for example, Indian industry wants to tie up with an academic or research institution in India. So that can be one side, and similarly on the other side, let's say in another country, similar kind of arrangement can be done between their industry and the research institution. So it will be four partners, which can be involved in this exercise. So this way, it will also increase our linkages between for the Indigenous R&D and also forge global partnerships with other countries, and also have then subsequently help us in technology adoption of based on the joint results of this collaboration. Then we provide matchmaking services. Sometimes it's not necessary that the technologies have come to a stage where they can be eligible for funding. There can be other mechanisms, for example, joint ventures, or there can be know-how licensing, those kinds of forms of technology transfer. So there we help in matchmaking. Then we also have these calls for proposal, which I'll be coming to in my slides later. Evaluation of proposal and financial assistance through the government fund. So the current programs which are ongoing are, we have this, GITA is managing and dispersing funds to the industry. Currently we have DST fund for India, Canada, S&T Corporation, and the focus sectors are sustainable environment, alternative energy, ICT, earth sciences and disaster management, photonics, nanotechnology, which can be sort of an enabling technology for all the other sectors. Then secondly, we have DST fund between India and Israel, and the focus sectors are nanoscience, nanotechnology, waste management, non-commercial energy resources, particularly solar, biotechnology, space science and technology. So these are, of course, different sectors where there's a lot of potential for strengthening the R&D capabilities. But there are other sectors where which will be targeted at the small and medium enterprises. So that we are in the process of ascertaining the needs. And then we have this ASEAN India's S&T Technology Development Fund, where the focus sectors are functional food, renewable energy technologies, health and medical devices, nanotechnology and its applications. And we have other similar programs in the pipeline, and the countries with whom we are initiating these partnerships are Korea, UK, Spain, Finland. We are also talking to EU, So there are these possibilities of initiating similar joint programs with many countries in the coming 1 or 2 years. So what is the funding process for global R&D? So we're talking of how this process is done. So we have this call for proposal. So for example, if we have a call for proposal, we have a program with Canada, will announce a joint call for proposal, and wherein one industry, Indian industry, and one overseas industry will jointly propose a project for funds for this joint R&D. So after the evaluation, the selected industry partners will get up to 50% of the project cost as soft loan, that means as grant or equity at 3% interest with 10 years moratorium. So GITA has the mandate to disburse funds on behalf of the DST to the Indian company. So GITA also monitors and supports these projects in different ways. So what are the types of applications which are expected from the Indian industry? As I mentioned before, that one applicant at least from India and one applicant at least from partner country should jointly apply for one joint project. Multiple industry and academic partners are also possible. That means that, for example, an Indian industry can partner with an academic or research institution, and similarly the other counterpart can also do this partnership in a similar way. Building on the principles of a true bilateral partnership, projects should demonstrate equivalence in effort from the Indian and overseas partners. That means that it's not that only one side would do all the work and the other side. So there has to be an equivalence of efforts from both the sides. Then only the true bilateral nature of this project would be realized. Indian and overseas partners contributing to the project should have detailed agreement on their roles, responsibilities, contributions, IP rights, marketing rights in advance before the application, because the idea should be very clear that how both the sides are going about this joint industrial R&D. Because without that, it will not be a fruitful exercise. So who are the eligible applicants, and if there are any special preferences? So for example, the companies incorporated in India under Companies Act 1956, so they are eligible, and companies must be at least 51% owned by Indian citizens. Companies should have required expertise and team capacity to manage the proposed project. Companies those fall under the micro, small and medium category as defined by the Government of India under the MSMEs Act of 2006 will also have preference. Applicants, companies having partnership with government-funded Indian academic and R&D institutions will also have preference. So the types of projects which can be funded are for joint research and development, joint deployment through pilot production, testing, market access, etc. So as I mentioned before, that what we are basically talking about is the last mile research. So in this, if there is any products which have been which have reached the stage of pre-commercialization or at a prototype stage, and with this funding, they can be brought to the market. So that is the goal of this initiative. So we are looking at a span of 2 to 3 years. Because we are not talking about the basic research where it may take longer and which may or may not have industrial applicability. So projects should be innovative, user need based and market driven, leading to new product or process and eventual commercialization. As I mentioned, duration of the project should not be more than 24 months from the date of receipt of funds. Next. So what are the possible forms of financial support? This can be in the form of loan, grant or equity. So usually for the industry it is the loan or equity, and for research and development institutions it's generally in the form of grant. And the loan is given for development component, and also the equity, there can be also equity participation by the stakeholders for commercialization of the technologies, where we can have this venture capital and other kinds of mechanisms. So what is the process of this joint call for proposal and selection? Joint call for proposal with respective partner countries is announced through advertisement in national daily, GITA website, and direct mailers. Then the eligible applicants submit expression of interest. The eligibility is depending on the Companies Act, I think I mentioned in my previous slide, so based on that. So there's a prescribed format, and in which the Indian company along with the overseas company will have to submit a joint expression of interest. So after that basic that screening, the technically qualified applicants meeting the eligibility criteria are invited to submit full proposals, which is again in the prescribed format. So the next stage is of project evaluation. After the submission of the detailed proposal, then we go to the project evaluation. So there is a project evaluation committee which is constituted by the GITA Board. That means the industry, which is constituting the industry and the ministry, the government side, evaluates the proposals as per stipulated norms and shortlist potential awardees. So after consultation with GITA counterparts, since GITA we have similar mechanism with other countries. For example, GITA is an arm's length institution of Department of Science and Technology to manage and disperse funds to the industry. So similarly, there will be counterparts of GITA in different countries where we will be having the partnerships. So after consultation with GITA counterparts in respective partner countries, and based on GITA's board approval, announcement of selected awardees of fund is done. Subsequently, on completion of all the requisite documentations, the selected companies sign agreement with GITA and receive the first installment of the approved fund. So the quantum of fund is decided based on the project evaluation committee's recommendations, and also the nature of the joint project and what is the contribution from the other side. So it has to be equivalence of efforts, as I mentioned before. And then we have a project advisory committee which monitors the progress, provides advice to fund recipients, and recommends GITA for dispersal of balance installments, because there has to be a progress monitoring mechanism. So that's why this committee will be there, which will be evaluating the progress of the different projects, and when there are certain milestones reached, so based on that there will be dispersal of the balance installment. So what are the eligible costs which can be covered under this funding? The eligible project cost should primarily include cost of equipment, human resources, utilities and consumables, outsourced activities, testing, market access, etc. So it covers a wide gamut of activities which any industry normally does in product development or technology development. These costs may also include payments, if any, to be made by industry to their respective academic institutional partners for work related to the project. So because we, as I mentioned before, that there are the preferences are given for funding in case there is a partnership between Indian industry and the research or academic institution, because that helps us in building our technological capabilities and indigenizing the research and development in sectors of importance. Approved projects which is done by the which is recommended by the project evaluation committee, Indian industry can get up to 50% of total cost as based on the components which I mentioned before. And but there will be a ceiling depending on the nature of the project and also based on the recommendations of the GITA Board. The funding support will be in the form of loan, grant, equity, or a combination of these based on the merits of the project as approved by the GITA Board. Indian industry will need to bring the balance fund either from their own resources or from any other non-government sources. So as you see, up to 50% of the cost of the Indian industry would be covered under this program. So that means that if governments from both the sides they give 50% and the industries from both the sides bring in another 50%. So cost of an Indian industry would, the risk of the Indian industry would reduce to only 25%. Because 25% will be the Indian industry's risk, 25% of the overseas, and similarly the governments on both sides would share of 25% risk. The funding support will be in the form, this I mentioned already. So basically, if you have to apply for funding, then you have to just visit our website, and I would like to mention that the new calls for proposal will be launched in 2013, sometime in March, and it will be in the newspaper. It will be also on our website, and we'll also be sending the mailers. So this is what currently the program is about, and I will look forward to your suggestions and feedback, and also particularly that kind of technology needs that you have, where we can, and also the particular countries with whom we can initiate these bilateral programs. So for example, if we are talking of solar energy, so which are the countries which are strong in the areas of solar energy, where Indian industry would like to partner with their counterparts in those particular countries. And there can be, of course, what we are looking at is specific technology needs. So across sectors, it can be across sectors, but it has to be specific technology needs. For example, if it is steel, then what kind of steel? If it is water purification or groundwater purification, so it can be, for example, removal of arsenic from groundwater, or it could be technologies which could increase energy efficiency or reduce water or energy intensity. So it has to be basically dependent on the need of the industry, specific need of the industry. So one is the mission mode programs, where we will be talking of the low cost healthcare and renewable energy technologies, promotion of renewable energy technologies. But at the same time, we are also looking at the specific industry needs and the particular countries with whom our Indian industry in that sector can partner with for upgrading the technology skills and also for bringing the technologies to the market. So this is what I would like to right now highlight. If there are questions, I am open, I am here, and you can respond to me.